In 1974, the average worker could buy a home by saving up roughly 3.5 years of their salary. Run that same math today. It's over 12 years. Wages went up. Technology advanced. The world became more productive. And yet, a home is more out of reach today than it was for your parents' generation. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why that happened, who won, who lost, and whether any of this is going to change. Let's start with the global picture. Because this isn't just an American problem, it's a generational one. In London, the average home costs roughly 12 times the average annual salary. Sydney, 13 times? Toronto is in the same ballpark. In New York City, depending on the borough, it goes even higher. And then there's Hong Kong, which has held the title of the world's least affordable housing market for decades, where a home runs about 18 times the average annual income. But the real story shows up when you look at the chart. Over the last 50 years, wages did grow in real terms. People are earning more, but home prices grew faster, much faster. The gap between the two lines, and especially from the early 2000s onward, got dramatically wider. So the problem isn't that people aren't working hard enough. The problem runs a lot deeper than that. There's no single reason housing prices got this high. Three major forces have been working together. First, the supply problem. The population grew. Urbanization accelerated. People flooded into major cities chasing jobs and opportunity. But land in those cities is finite. Permitting is slow. Construction costs are high, and existing homeowners, who already have theirs, often push back against new development near them. Demand surged. Supply couldn't keep up. Prices went up. Second, monetary policy. After the 2008 financial crisis, central banks around the world slashed interest rates to historic lows and kept them there for over a decade. What does that mean in practice? Borrowing got cheap, mortgage rates dropped. People who couldn't previously afford to buy suddenly could. Demand jumped again, prices went up again. And here's the cruel twist. Now that rates have risen sharply, home prices haven't come back down the same way because sellers don't want to take a loss. So you get the worst of both worlds, high prices and high rates. Third, and maybe the least talked about, housing became an investment asset. A home isn't just a place to live anymore. It's a yield-generating vehicle. Institutional investors, real estate funds, and high-net-worth individuals have been buying up properties at scale, collecting rental income or waiting on appreciation. That demand competes directly with regular people who just need a place to live, except the financial firepower isn't even close to equal. The result, home prices have moved well beyond what the people who actually want to live in them can afford to pay. The generation paying the steepest price for all of this, millennials and Gen Z. This generation entered the job market when home prices were already elevated. Many carried student debt. Their early careers got derailed by the 2008 crash. Then the pandemic hit, and housing prices in major cities spiked almost overnight. Remote work gave wealthier households the freedom to move into previously affordable neighborhoods, pricing out the people already living there. Home ownership rates at age 30 have dropped sharply compared to previous generations, across most developed countries. These aren't people who stopped trying. They didn't blow their savings on lattes and avocado toast, despite what you may have heard. The system just isn't set up the same way it was for their parents. So does this change? Honest answer, not easily. But it's not permanent either. Some cities and countries have tried different approaches. Tokyo loosened its zoning laws and allowed dense housing construction throughout the city. And as a result, home prices there have stayed far more reasonable than in comparable global cities. Singapore built a massive public housing system that covers the majority of its population with affordable, quality homes. Neither system is perfect, but they work. On an individual level, where you choose to live has never mattered more. If remote work is an option, cities with more reasonable housing costs are now genuinely viable. And the rent vs. buy question isn't always obvious. In some markets, renting and investing the difference actually comes out ahead over the long run. That math is worth doing before assuming buying is always the right move. Owning a home isn't impossible, but it's genuinely harder than it was a generation ago. And that's not because people today are doing something wrong. It's because of constrained supply, a decade of cheap money, and housing turning into a financial asset. Understanding the system is the first step to making smarter decisions within it. We'll go deeper on this part, which markets still make sense, where we are in the rate cycle, and what the alternatives actually look like. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.